Good morning, everyone, and on behalf of the Board Administration and Education Finance Committee, I call this meeting to order. May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Pell. Mr. Pell is present. Dr. Armstrong. Here. Dr. Armstrong is present. Ms. Birkin.
Here.
Mr. Birkin present. Mr. Castile. Ms. Castile not present. Ms. Champagne.
Here.
Ms. Champagne present. Dr. Clark. Here. Dr. Clark present. Mr. Harris. Here. Mr. Harris present. Mr. Hollis. Here. Mr. Hollis present. Ms. Holloway. Here. Ms. Holloway is present. Ms. Millerine. Ms. Millerine is present. Mr. Morris. Here. Mr. Morris is present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. The first item, please.
The consent agenda is ready for approval, adding items 6.1 and 7.1.
I have a motion, please. Dr. Armstrong, second. Ms. Holloway. Any discussion? Seeing none, motion, any objections? Seeing none, motion passes. Next, please.
Your first item is on page 16, item 4.1, consideration of LDOE contracts greater than $50,000. The recommendation is to approve.
A motion, please. Ms. Champagne. Mr. Morris. Any discussion? Any objections? Motion carries. Next, please.
Your next item is on page 23, item 4.2, consideration of a report from Education Finance staff concerning Bessie authorized charter school budgets and expenditure reports, including irregularities or concerns. The recommendation is to receive.
Motion, please. Mr. Harris, Ms. Mellerin. Any discussion?
Just want to point out, Mr. Birkin, that information is in your packet. Should you have any questions, Deputy Superintendent CNO is available both here today or beyond today.
Any discussion? Any objections? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item, please.
Your next item is on page 30, item 4.3, consideration of federal state grants and allocations to LEAs, Type 2 charters, Type 5 charters, approved non-public schools, and community-based organizations, competitive and other. The recommendation is to approve.
Motion, please. Mr. Appel. Second. Ms. Champagne. Discussion, please.
Mr. Birkin, this particular item also affords considerable resources to school systems through our competitive process that we utilize. Really proud of our team's work on aligning this opportunity to the priorities of Bessie and the priorities of the agency to drive student academic outcomes. And so we certainly recommend approval of this item, and I would remind all of you that our team provided you a breakdown per your Bessie district of funding that was being made available to school systems.
Okay. Any other discussion on the dais? So we have one person wishes to speak, Ms. Caroline Romer, Louisiana Association of Public Charter Schools. Ms. Romer.
Good morning. Caroline Romer, Louisiana Association of Public Charter Schools. I usually come up and know exactly what I'm doing. I don't today. Is this an item that would be appropriate to, I know this is not a Q&A session, but to ask some questions about pre-K, specifically LA4 seats and the allocation of those seats through the department to LEAs? Is this an item in here?
I'm not necessarily going to take questions from the public because that's not what this is. This is public comment period. But if a board member would like to ask a question, I'd be happy to answer.
My comment would just be then, without asking a question, I see there is an item in there related to the allocation of those seats to districts, to charter schools. And it's concerning to me to see when a district has lost seats, when I don't see the state as a whole losing seats, but I do see some of those allocations are less than what they're currently serving in that district. And so it's just concerning to me how that process works. And I understand resources can be limited, and sometimes that happens, but I would hope that for any school district I can't believe that there isn't a demand for those seats. And so when I see a district losing seats, in this case Orleans in particular, I think is down 17 seats from what they're currently serving, that's concerning. My work is generally charter schools K through 12, but we do have charter schools serving pre-K students, and I just hate to see a loss of those seats. And so it's not, again, my world normally, so when I saw it, I just felt the need to come up and ask that be considered when these allocations are being done. Thank you.
Mr. Birkin? I specifically like to know what's going on in Orleans Parish, if we have that information today. I understand, I've heard it was a bigger number than what Ms. Romer suggested of lost LA4 seats. If you're able to address that, I'd appreciate it. If not, we'll do something.
No, thank you, Mr. Appel. Thank you for your question. Happy to give some history to that. I would ask Deputy Assistant Superintendent Karen Powell to come up from our early childhood team, and if she needs anyone else to join her, please do so. But the short answer to that, and Karen can elaborate, is basically that we in many ways work on the request from the systems. And if a system doesn't make a request, then we can't honor a request because it was never made. And in this particular item in Orleans, I think that what you have is a system that was, for whatever reason, maybe not operating as efficiently as it should have been operating in a number of different financial elements, not making a request for something that they had previously had, and we were not able to honor something that they had not requested, and so those seats were shifted elsewhere. Karen, if you want to provide.
Just to clarify for the board, there's been a change in superintendency in Orleans Parish. The original superintendent, who wasn't there that long, had resigned some months ago. And there's a new superintendent who obviously just started, literally just started. So if that's what you're inferring, perhaps that's part of the problem, and maybe she could address that, but I just wanted to clarify that for the board.
So the challenges in Orleans financially have been well documented in the media. I'm not sure they have been, I would have liked to have seen more public engagement in asking questions of the Orleans Parish system for some of the financial issues that we've seen in the media. But this particular item for which Ms. Romer is asking is specific to early childhood seats. So Karen, you can provide some light onto what happened there.
Yes, Dr. Brumley.
And make sure your microphone is on and that you introduce yourself.
Is my microphone on? I believe it is.
You may have to pull it close, Karen.
The light's on. Okay, thank you. Good morning. I'm Karen Powell. I'm Deputy Assistant Superintendent for the Office of Early Childhood Care and Education here at the department. God bless you. And the way that the LA4 seat requests work is that each community network submits a coordinated funding request identifying how many seats they are requesting for that community. And so that community network in Orleans is called NOEEN. It's the New Orleans Early Education Network, and it's a partnership between Agenda for Children and the New Orleans Public Schools. And so there has been a reduction over the past several years of the seats awarded in Orleans based on lower asks. And then also, after the preliminary allocations are made, our team asks networks across the state, do you need any additional seats? Do you need to decline seats because you cannot use them? Because our first priority is ensuring that all seats are utilized. And NOLA PS has actually declined seats in recent years.
What you're saying is there's been a downward trend in requests for seats, even though we all have to believe the demand is there, maybe a growing demand.
Greater than that, there's been a trend in an increase in seats being declined most years.
Declined by who?
By NOLA PS.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
NOLA Public Schools.
Oh, why would they decline seats, opportunities? Any idea?
I don't know. What I can say is that they are not the only network and parish to decline seats in the state. So in the spring, when networks work to coordinate enrollment and they find out what local demand there is, sometimes they find that there are fewer families looking for that seat that year. And so typically they might decline 1 seat, 5 seats, 10
Could it,
seats.
and I'm asking you to speculate, but could it be a budgetary issue where they decline the seat because there's additional resources that the school board must provide? And that's speculation, I realize.
I do not know.
You don't know. Okay.
I could not speak to that.
I also, Mr. Appel, we go off what is requested of us.
Right.
And if they don't request, and we have a greater request elsewhere in the state, we feel that need. And so I just think it's important for the public to know that we didn't just wake up one morning and say, let's give New Orleans less seats. It's that they were not even requested.
Well, not only requested, but also declined, it sounds like. So it's a double hit of some sort.
Excuse
Yeah.
me, but may I ask, Dr. Brumley, is there ever a time when the department asks the district, why are you declining certain seats or many seats? Is this something that we are responsible for to ask?
I don't think we necessarily require an explanation for why they decline the seats. We do want to make sure that they are certain they want to do that, and then we move to give the seats to networks that have said they have additional need. So it is possible, for example, that Orleans could get seats added back in the coming year because already there are networks saying that they won't be able to use their full preliminary allocation. So how many seats have we declined in the last couple of years? It's,
When you say how many we have declined? Okay, that's important clarification.
Yes, I'm sorry. How many seats has Orleans Parish declined in the last couple of years?
we're looking, but I know that it's more than 100.
Wow.
Well, I think, at this stage, I think, follow up on Ms. Holloway's statement, I think it's appropriate that the
I
board
do too.
specifically make a request of Orleans Parish as to what their plan is, why they're declining seats, why they haven't made requests for seats. I don't think that's necessarily a motion, but it should be something that we can direct the
And how
department to do.
can we help to, or facilitate them getting those seats filled? Is
Yeah.
that-
And it's just the reasons behind this trend. Obviously, it's a growing concern, and we need to know the facts. We don't know the facts, obviously, so.
In the past, our staff has absolutely explained to networks what they might do if they aren't sure how to fill the seats, and so we can ensure that our team explains, again, especially as there's a new superintendent, if you, for example, cannot utilize all the seats at one location, here's how you can transfer them, here's how you can utilize them.
I just think it's a little bit concerning when we get to the place that the department needs to make determinations for local systems of how many seats they need. You should have the capacity within a local school system to know how many early childhood seats you need. And if you're making those declines, I just think you should be answering to your public locally around why. We certainly don't have the bandwidth to run, early child care for every school system in the state, nor do systems want us to do so. But I do think it's appropriate, as Mr. Appel is asking, to find the answers on why.
Yeah, I'm not asking us to run the
Right,
system. I'm just
yeah.
asking us, this sounds like a very specific case, and why can't we come from an official position and say, do you know what's going on here, and why are you doing this? And then report back to us as to the answers.
But I think you're right about that, but I think it's, the particular Orleans issue is bigger than this. There are other financial engagements or activities that are also of question.
I have a question. I understand that it's more than 100, and it's more than 200 seats that are down. Can you please get us the accurate number?
It's the number that has been declined versus other seats were lost because they were not requested.
By the district. But
Yes.
can you please get us that number? Total
Yes.
number?
Dr.
That's a
Armstrong.
lot of seats.
So I have a question related, if,
But Dr. Armstrong, if I may, one second, Ms. Holloway, I don't know that we're prepared to, like, here's the number. They're doing this on
Oh,
a
I know,
chart
it's
at
a
the
lot.
table. So
Yeah.
it may be that we have to get you that number beyond this
Absolutely,
moment.
for the whole,
Yeah.
for the whole board members,
don't
absolutely.
know
I
it's-
totally
yeah.
understand that.
It's a reduction of 234 over time, but we can also check on the number declined of that
Correct.
reduction. But some
That's
were
right.
declined, some were not requested.
Yeah, by the district, absolutely. Thank you.
so in declining the seats, we're basically, I'm asking, okay, declining children. What other options are available to these children?
So 4-year-old children are eligible for Head Start programs in the parish, and they would also be eligible to apply for the Child Care Assistance Program. So those are 2 other funding streams.
And we would not know if they go into another program? We don't track
We,
them?
no, we don't have that information. It's possible that the district tracks that, but we would not know whether they do or do not.
And that would be something that we would like to know from the district as well.
I think it also speaks to, the fact that when you operate a system that is specific as Orleans, which is essentially an all-charter system, you have to have extreme coordination at that district level because you have so many different LEAs essentially existing within your system. And if you don't have really tight organization at that system level, then you run into challenges like we're expressing today, or Mr. Appel or may express down the road. And so just want to point out that there is a need for stronger system-level organization and efficiency there.
Any other questions on this topic?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure we ran this one to ground, so I think there's going to be a broader conversation a little bit later today. But I'm happy to offer a motion to ask LDOE to follow up and come back to the board with some better understanding of why the rate has been declining over multiple years. I think that's a reasonable request if someone wanted to second the motion.
Is there a second to that motion? Ms. Champagne? Any discussion? Any public comment? Hearing none, any objections? Seeing none, that motion carries. I do have a question, Dr. Brumley.
So are we gonna make a motion to approve the contracts first, because that was the first motion?
Okay, all right. So any objections to the original motion on 4.3? That motion carries. Recently, President Trump's administration sent a letter that you are to certify non-discrimination in our schools. Could you, what's going on there? Could you address that, please?
Yeah, thanks. So you may have seen, clearly you have seen this. The president, through Education Secretary Linda McMahon, has sent a notice to all state education commissioners, chief state school officers, in our case, state superintendent, basically giving us 10 days to certify that there are no discriminatory activities taking place in schools across the entire state, which could include some diversity, equity, and inclusion type activities. That's certainly a significant ask to make of a state commissioner around every single school or school system in the state of Louisiana. So the way in which we are going to approach that is to just have make notice to all of the LEAs throughout the state of Louisiana about the request upon us. They have most recently, in alignment with an act of the legislature from last year, had to report all such activities to us, and which we in turn reported to the state legislature as we were asked to do. But what we will do is ask that all of the school systems across the state provide an assurance to us that they do not have discriminatory activities within their school systems. We're not going to go into and define what those particular activities may look like, or what policies or practices or endeavors for which they're engaged might need to be ceased or halted, but we will advise that they work with their local council to determine and ensure that they do not have anti-discriminatory practices in their school systems. And so that those assurances will be forthcoming to school systems so that I can then comply with the certification that I have to make back to the U.S. Department of Education, because otherwise, so much of the funding that flows into Louisiana is endangered if a school system would have anti-discriminatory actions taking place. And certainly, I do not want any school system to have an anti-discriminatory action taking place in their school, and I wouldn't believe that this board would either. So that's an update on that, Mr. Birkin. And we will be making notice to school systems in the very near future because we originally received 10 days for me to sign off on this form, and then yesterday we were granted a 10-day extension. So,
Questions, discussion? Okay, next item, please.
Your next item is on page 62. Item 5.1, consideration of program and budget revisions on 8G statewide grant programs for 2024-2025. The recommendation is to approve.
Motion, Dr. Armstrong, Mr. Harris. Any discussion? Any objections? Motion carries. Next, please.
Your next item is on page 288, item 8.1, consideration of revisions to Bulletin 1929, Louisiana Accounting and Uniform Governmental Handbook regarding business administrator credentials. The recommendation is to approve.
Okay, motion, Ms. Holloway, Mr. Morris. Any discussion on this?
I have a comment, Mr. Birkin.
Okay.
Just in order to help make sure that financial operations are appropriate and effective and seamless in school systems, what this particular item does is it requires the school business administrator or chief financial officer of any school system applying to both traditional public and public charter that they either obtain their CPA license or what is more common, get certified through their trade organization, LASBO, as a certified Louisiana school business administrator. We think this is good best practice to make sure that these individuals overseeing million-dollar budgets have this required training on best practices in finance and accounting procedures.
Okay, discussion? Seeing none, any objection to the motion? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item, please.
Your next item was added to the agenda and has been handed out. Item 9.1, consideration of a discussion regarding a request for a financial report and documentation from Orleans Parish School Board. The recommendation is to direct.
So, motion, Mr. Appel. The second, Mr. Morris. Discussion. Mr. Appel.
Thank you. For those of you who may not be aware, the last several months there's been a number of media reports and a lot of discussion about a budgetary revenue shortfall in Orleans Parish, somewhere, and I'm not even sure the actual number, but somewhere between $30 and $50 million, which in turn affects schools of Orleans Parish. It's become a very politicized issue because there's some funding issues related to the city of New Orleans as relates to the school board. It's my belief that it's Bessie's constitutional duty to evaluate what's going on in this situation and gather information to that effect so that we can execute any potential actions we wish to take. So to that end, I have prepared a motion, which y'all have to bear with me because it's rather long, but I think it's appropriate that I read it in. I move to direct Bessie staff to forward the following questions to responsible officials of the Orleans Parish School Board by the end of business on April 10th, giving Orleans Parish School Board until the end of business on April 30th to respond to Bessie and to the Department of Education. Number one, what is the nature and actual value of the error and/or shortfall in the Orleans Parish School Board current fiscal year budget? Number two, how did the budget error or shortfall escape review by the Orleans Parish School Board and its staff? Does the Orleans Parish School Board employ generally accepted financial accounting principles in accordance with Louisiana law? Number three, what actions have the Orleans Parish School Board taken to remediate the impact of the current budget error and shortfall? What further actions are anticipated? Number four, in the remediation of a current budget shortfall, if the use of rainy day funds is anticipated, which has been announced, then how and when will these funds be replenished? Number five, what actions have the Orleans Parish School Board taken to prevent future recurrence of this or any other error or shortfall in its budgeting process? What further actions are anticipated? Number six, what, if any, obligations are owed to the Orleans Parish School Board by the City of New Orleans? If there are any funds owed or committed by the City of New Orleans, when will they become due and how will they be allocated? Number seven, what were the potential impacts or burdens on schools in Orleans Parish resulting from an Orleans Parish School Board error or shortfall? To what extent and how, if any, have these impacts been remediated? Number eight, if additional funds become available, such as from the City of New Orleans, how will and when will these funds be allocated? Number nine, based upon the corrected current Orleans Parish School Board budget, is there any expectation of reduced future recurring revenues? And I want to comment on that a little bit further in a second. And then number 10, should further recurring revenues be reduced, what will be the impact upon schools and their funding? And so those last two items to me perhaps were the most important. What we in a regulatory vein need to know is this a recurring revenue problem? Is this a one-time revenue problem? If it is a recurring revenue problem, what does that mean for the budgets? As we all know, with very minor exception, all the schools in Orleans Parish are charter schools, and they depend upon the school board for their funding. If this is a recurring $50 million, $30 million, whatever it is, revenue shortfall, then what do we expect to see in budgets going forward for next year, the year after, and so forth? So to close my motion, I say further, the Department of Education shall report by electronic mail to Bessie an evaluation of said responses by May 15th. So basically I'm saying we need to send this out this week. We need to get information back in about 2 weeks roughly, and sometime thereafter, before our next Bessie meeting, we should get a report from the Department of Education summarizing the information that we've received. And I might add, even though that's the end of my motion, I would encourage the Orleans Parish School Board, and as I noted earlier, they have a brand-new superintendent, been there less than a week, I think. I would encourage them, if there's any additional information not in this list that would help us in evaluating the situation so we can disseminate the information to the public, that they cooperate with us and give us that information. My hope is that this was a one-time accident in budgeting, and that next year everything will be just fine. My concern is it was not a one-time accident in budgeting, that reflects a continuing decline of revenues available to the Orleans Parish School Board, and then we need to know what that means to the education of children in Orleans Parish going forward. So that concludes my motion, and I'll open the questions.
So we have a second from Mr. Morris. So my question's where did the motion begin and end, I guess?
I drafted it in a daze on an airplane coming back from Japan.
You should include those 10 questions plus some more. You're going to give it to, does everyone maybe understand the motion, I guess? Ma'am? And is it necessary, you think, to have any legal consultation prior to sending those questions out?
Personally, having reconsidered the Constitution, I believe it's fully in our charge by the people of Louisiana that we oversee these institutions, and Orleans Parish School Board is certainly one of them. So personally don't think it requires legal consultation, but I'm perfectly open to throwing it to them for
Just
consideration too.
Wondering your thoughts. Any discussion on this? Does everyone understand the motion?
If I
Yes.
may, Mr. Birkin, if it's okay with Mr. Appel, we're happy to meet your request here and just run the set of questions we pose to them across our legal counsel's desk. And, we can do the same with Bessie Legal Counsel too, if that helps your
Well,
question.
I don't want to delay the implementation of I've only said in the motion that the request to the Orleans School Board would go out this week. So, I mean, I'm fine to have the legal counsel review it, and if there's any comments, that's great. But certainly the items within the motion would be severable, if you understand what that means.
Yeah,
And so if there's one that's an issue, I don't want the rest of them held up.
Yeah, that sounds good. We'll trying to meet the request of everyone here. We'll pass it across the desk of legal, but we won't allow that to slow it down.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're ready to vote. Any objections on, yes, would you comment? Oh, I'm sorry. I knew that, and I forgot. Ms. Caroline Romer, again from Louisiana Association of Public Charter Schools, wishes to speak.
Thank you, Caroline Romer, LAPCS. I saw this item today and wasn't really sure what it was, but I am pleased to come to the table as an organization. Back in October of 2024, LAPCS basically blew the whistle on this item and wrote a letter to the Orleans Parish School Board about the fact that our schools had detected and learned that there was this shortfall that is closer to $50 million. And it is not just for this school year, but the coming school year as well. We have schools that are facing upwards of $1,000 per student shortfall in a current budget. We're talking loss of teachers' jobs, cutting of programs. It has been nothing less than a crisis. I will allow OPSB and NOLA PS to answer to your questions, but I will say they have been working on the problem to understand what took place. They use a calculator where they plug in the numbers that then spits out I'm simplifying it, but spits out a per student number. They put a wrong number in the calculator. They were given a number by the city of New Orleans at one date and time. That number changed at a later date and time, and they did not change the number. You also have at hand here, if you could also ask the city of New Orleans to get their business straight. Dr. Brumley spoke on an earlier item about running a tight organization and being thoughtful and well-organized and communicating. We have a problem between the entities of the city of New Orleans and our school board not doing that well, poor leadership. And so the city also has something to say and answer for on what's happened. Their collections are down on property taxes. There are issues there. I will compliment the New Orleans City Council. They have taken this matter up. They are doing resolutions. In fact, I think they have some ordinances they'll pass on Thursday, hopefully. So again, some dollars are flowing to our schools to make up for that problem. But the more important and critical thing, as your questions, I believe, lend to, is what happened, and this should never happen again. You are impacting classrooms, and it is irresponsible. And we have very little public information and transparency. I'll speak for New Orleans now, but I could say it probably falls across other places in the state where our schools fully understand what the dollars are that are coming in and what of those dollars should be flowing through our schools. So I appreciate the motion. I think it's worth this body taking a look at and understanding how school finances sometimes are not working on behalf of students in this state and creating a real mess. Thank you.
Well, I suggest one further comment from what you'd said. It's what if this is a continuing problem and there's a declining school-age population, which translates to declining revenues. What is the strategy going forward? I mean, do we consolidate schools? Do we take other steps necessary to reduce spending so that we get it back up on the per pupil spending side, we get it back up to where it should be? I'm not asking you to answer that. I'm just suggesting my concern is in the longer term, because if it's a one-off accounting error, okay, but I don't think it is. I think it's representative of a declining population of school-age children, and there's going to have to be some long-term thinking about what schools look like in Orleans Parish to fit the financial constraints going forward. That's all I'm suggesting.
And if I may, you are correct. Orleans is declining in enrollment. We have more seats than we have students, but I will credit Orleans Parish School Board consistently reviews charters both on the accountability standards, and we have done non-renewals more so than any other district in the state. They are also looking to understand, like, long-term, what is sustainable and what is not. We work very closely as a school board, as a charter association with other organizations like New Schools for New Orleans that is looking at that portfolio to, again, understand our population, like this state. We're one of, 6 states that loses population year after year, and Orleans is not immune to that. And as a city that is so reliant on the hospitality industry and those sorts of things, you can see a lot of, ups and downs. So it is forward thinking. It takes someone understanding that this is not a superintendent job in New Orleans that's about operating schools. That's not what they do. Their job is to ensure that we have the right number of seats and that we are getting all the resources our kids need to the classroom.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Mr.
Mr.
Morris.
Pell, Senator Pell, I know we're not going to solve this problem here today, but I'm just wondering, $50 million shows up somewhere on a balance sheet. So if we're short one place, I wonder where the excess goes. Where does the $50 million go that disappeared in the school budget? Maybe that's something
It wasn't
we should.
just a misplacement of funds, it was an error in recognizing revenue streams. So there is no other place. They just, if the budget was balanced on the basis of X dollars, in fact, what they have is X minus 50 million.
Mhm. But doesn't that give you a $50 million surplus in your budget?
No, it just doesn't exist. That's what she's saying. They used a calculator to calculate the total dollars of revenue, and we're speculating. We're going to get those answers directly. But the revenue just wasn't there, but they anticipated that it was there. So on the spending side, they spent that 50 million.
Got it.
But it didn't exist.
Got it. So they overestimated by 50 million is what I'm
Correct.
hearing then. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Brumman?
Yeah, I have a comment, and Dr. Clark knows this is true, as I've shared this with her a couple of times. I am concerned about what the summer looks like in Orleans, if school leaders are making decisions around, can we have appropriate summer programs? Do we have the staff now to offer academic tutoring support to kids? I am very concerned about what the summer looks like for kids in New Orleans if they cannot effectively and quickly come to a resolution on this issue. And unfortunately, I don't think the city's administration and the mayor's office has done enough to work through this issue. And the most important travel and trip this mayor should be taking is to a school to understand the impact of these finances on programs for kids. And I'm hoping that we can see more coordination between the council, the mayor, the Orleans board, and the superintendent to get this right for kids.
Any other discussion? Any objections to the motion? Seeing none, that motion carries. Next item, please.
That concludes your agenda.
So prior to the adjournment, real quick, I wanted to thank Mr. Harris for allowing me to give that award to Ms. Hadaway, being that it was in his district. So thank you, Mr. Harris. And how, 5, 10 minutes? 5, 10 minutes break for the next session. Thank you.